think
they speak no word of truth.
What do you think he was referring to there, or was it just random words that was he just saying stuff, or was he?
I know that he is obsessed with pet sounds.
Oh,
and
yes,
there's a track on Pet Sounds, I think, called "Let's Go Away for a While."
Okay.
So I would think that's where he at least took the first lyric. Would be my guess.
But then the strange and distant place, like, is he talking about like some sort of like, I don't know, is he talking about a different dimension here, or what? What kind of place is he referring to? Like, I want specifics. Citizens of Earth, welcome to Accelerativ Thrust. I'm Dan.
And I'm Erik.
And today, boy, do we got a hot one for you.
This is hot off the presses, guys.
Hot off the presses.
This band, when I heard about this record, had 5 listeners on Spotify. And then later that night they had 9. And now they have 30. So, you know, they're really moving up in the world.
And I bet 2 of those listeners are me and you, Erik.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. But we can get to that in a minute. What else?
Yeah.
What's going on in the world?
Did you hear the news about how Billy Corgan and Bill Burr might be half brothers?
No, I didn't. I mean, so I've heard rumblings about how much they look alike, but yeah, no.
So I could be kind of getting some of the facts wrong here, but as far as I know, this is what I remember in my head. Billy Corgan mentioned something about how, and he might have been joking on a podcast about how him and Bill Burr might be related. And then Howie Mandel has a podcast, and Bill Burr was a guest on it. And he invited Billy Corgan to come and crash the interview without Bill Burr knowing it.
Oh, yeah.
And Bill Burr was like, I don't know if this was all like for show. This all could have been an act. But Bill Burr was like visibly upset about it. And then Billy Corgan was like, I'm sorry, Howie, you told me that Bill would be perfectly fine with me coming on. And it's a pretty entertaining thing. But yeah, now there's like this whole, it's basically, you remember the whole Chad Smith, Will Ferrell situation?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, only it's Billy Corgan and Bill Burr.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're brothers and they're both named Bill. That's funny.
I don't know. The whole story, which is probably made up, is that they're like half brothers. They like share the same dad, and he named both of his sons Bill. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I don't think it's true. It looks to me like
it's most likely fake.
I don't know if they actually look that much alike. Like, I think there's some pictures people found where they really found somewhere they kind of look alike. But if they had hair, we wouldn't think they look like each other at all.
Yeah, no. And there is like pictures of like Bill Burr with hair. And of course, we all remember Billy Corgan had long hair during the
Luscious.
Gish days.
Luscious Gish locks. Ew.
Yeah, Luscious Gish locks.
I don't ever want to say that again.
That came out of like nowhere, didn't it?
It was disgusting. I regret it.
But they do look alike. Yeah, the only thing they really have in common really is the bald heads right now.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I think there's some side-by-side pictures. I'm looking at them where, you know, they look alike, but when you really get into it, they're pretty different.
This is what I think happened. I think Billy Corgan got sick of the being a musician, so he had plastic surgery and became a comedian named Bill Burr.
Oh.
So an actor is playing Billy Corgan right now, but Bill Burr is Billy Corgan for real. That's what I think is going on.
I can't imagine being Bill Burr is that much better than being Billy Corgan.
Well, he just wanted to get away from the glamour and the glitz. And,
again, but stayed in show business.
Well, yeah, I mean, he wanted to be a comedian that isn't as big as the Smashing Pumpkins. I mean, Bill Burr didn't really make like any like 90s classics like Siamese Dream or Melancholy. He just tells jokes. So yeah, music is one of the things that we are really into.
Yes, that's true.
And another thing that we're really into is we're into talking about records, and we're into talking about a lot of crazy records. A lot of really, really good, or good in our opinion, records. I would say that this pick of yours today, Eric, is no exception.
Yeah, speaking of being really into records.
Come on, everybody, it's record time.
So this record's called Screen on the Green, and the group is called Peer Pressure Zombies. And so the record I was really into was Fashion Pimps and the Glamazons. I searched through my notes and figured out we first talked about them on episode 70, and then I referenced them again in episode 117, and then I referenced it again on episode 121 and 130, and now 145. That has to be more than we've mentioned almost any other band.
Almost any other group,
That's not Devo or Ween.
Right. Yeah, Devo, Ween, or the Smashing Pumpkins. We talked about the Smashing Pumpkins quite a bit.
So, yeah, it's firmly in place that Fashion Pimps and the Glamazons, Jazz for Johnny. One of the best records I've heard in a decade.
Dude, easy. I had to go back and revisit it, like, after listening to this. I forgot how good it was.
It's so good. It's so good. And so is the Peer Pressure Zombies. The connection is,
oh my gosh,
that in Fashion Pimps there's a person called Steve Chainsaw, and in Peer Pressure Zombies he's Steve Pepper, and then there's another person in Fashion Pimps called Noah A, who I assume is maybe Noah DePoo from Peer Pressure Zombies, but they're from Cleveland, Ohio, which has a really gnarly psych scene as far as I can tell.
Cruel Stir's from there.
Cruel Stir, right? Yeah. Maybe Cherry Cheeks. No, probably from Australia. All the cool psych is from Cleveland or Australia.
Yeah.
Noah DePoo does the guitars and heavy synth. Steve Pepper does bass, vocals, and light synth. And Janet Yellen does drums and bongs. Now, I don't know if they meant bongos, but either way, it's great.
Yeah.
Drums and bongs. So, I don't know. What do you think of this?
Man, it's one of the most wild and coolest releases, I've heard in a long time. It totally makes sense when you told me that it had members of Fashion Pimps. I think there's definitely similarities, but I think there's also some clear differences in approach. I think, for one thing, I find this project to be a little more like deceptively minimalist, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Because what I think this record ultimately is a wild mix of new wave, punk, psych, kraut, and prog rock all into like one.
Yeah. For sure.
I can't tell sometimes if the drums are like real drums or drum machines half the time. The way that it literally, they sound like machines playing this music.
Right. Yeah. And I'm sure some of them are. Like, I don't know, there's various times in the record where like silly kind of like claps come in for just like no reason. Like, and they're obviously drum machine sounds, but it could be a combination of drum machines and real drums too. I don't know. But that's something that really stands out. It makes it really kind of no wavy in my mind. Kind of
very
like
much so.
Early Cure almost at times.
Yeah.
And that's one thing about this too, is that I feel like it's like Fashion Pimps in the sense that it's angular, it's noisy, it's like, I guess what you could call egg punk. I usually call geek rock, but the same thing.
Right.
But this one's a little bit darker, maybe, or at least just not as fun. I don't know, or poppy or something. Something's different.
Yeah, I think the lyrical content seems to be a lot about the destruction of oneself living in like a boring place or something.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the lyrics, the first song, he literally is just singing over and over again, like, I can't control what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like that really sets the tone for like the rest of the record, because then it's like he's sort of like delves into like life sucks kind of like
and there's another element to that too, that it to me kind of feels like it's the view of a young person. I'm sure that the people in this group are young. I'm not saying that. I'm saying like a teenager almost stuck in a place. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a sense I got from it anyway.
It does sound like it's from the perspective of somebody who just feels hopeless at the time that they're feeling what they're feeling. Like, you know, when you're 16, like you and I both grew up in the same town, Eric, Muscatine. There were definitely times as a 16-year-old where that place just felt really hopeless, you know, like
for sure.
Like you're never going to get out of this town. And so you're trying to kind of create your own fun and you're stuck like doing that. And I think that maybe they're touching on that a little bit. At the same time, there is, in the same way that Fashion Pimps had like lyrics that were kind of absurd and kind of funny, you know, I do feel like there is like an undertone of humor.
Oh, and absolutely. Yeah.
Like in this record, like, I don't know, like on the song Germany, that one really reminds me of the band Oneida.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because the vocals are kind of like almost like gang vocals, like but like nerdy gang vocals, like not like a hardcore band or something, like gang vocals if they were done by like a new wave band or something, you know?
Yeah. That song in particular, Germany, is one of the most dissonant moments on the album. Like a synth comes in, and I use the word dissonant a lot, and generally it means like a controlled sort of chaos and kind of opposing notes that go together. Honestly, this synth part just sounds like it's the wrong notes.
Yeah.
But it's really cool. They just own it, and it just goes on. And then eventually you're kind of like, well, maybe that does work, and maybe my ears are wrong, you know, or something. But
there does seem to be a little bit of like not giving a fuck a little bit in the music, but at the same time, it can't be all that, because it also sounds insanely tight and controlled at the same time. Like it doesn't, there is chaos, but it's not chaos that falls apart at all. It's very much, they really worked on this. You know what I mean? Like it's not, you know, cause you can listen to like, I don't know, like a Boredom's record or something, you know, and you know that they pretty much were just like, didn't care at all.
Right. Had an idea of a tone or whatever. And
let's do like an improv sort of thing. And the whole idea behind that is like, let's make something that is completely disjointed and doesn't make sense.
Yeah. This isn't like that. You're right.
No, there is maybe elements of that, but, and I'm not saying the Boredoms don't serve a purpose, but there's a clear purpose behind this record. I don't think it's meant to be like a message they're trying to get across or anything, but there is a reason why they're putting it out, I think,
Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta say also, the guitars and bass, the tones are just gnarly on
this. They
are
crazy. Like the guitar tones, there's tons of ring modulator, which always makes things crazy sounding as hell. Like you think of the guitar solo in Satisfaction by Devo. Like that's a ring mod, And then the distortion they use, I mean, it is like ice picks in your ears. It is so harsh, but awesome. But it adds to the textural element of everything, because everything we're talking about, how things, how it's noisy and things like that, which usually means things are coming together. They're kind of like, chaotic in this way, but everything on this is completely separate. Fashion Pimps is kind of like that too. Like, this is the synth, this is the guitar, this is the bass, this is the drum, this is the vocals, and they never cross over each other.
No. Yeah.
And this is very much like that too. Like, every part is its part, and it's awesome.
For sure. And there's also like 2 or 3 sort of like instrumental type songs where they start going into just really strange soundscapes, like alien, like soundscapes, and like, and of course, like I'm thinking like something like Chrome with that kind of stuff, and really like the best way that I could describe this truly is like punk rock if it was played by aliens. I mean, it's just really like spacey and really like and not spacey in terms of like space within the music, but just like it sounds like science fiction, like a science fiction score through the filter of like punk or something. Like it sounds very mutated, like
and that kind of brings to mind kind of like Trans Am too.
Trans Am,
Six Finger Satellite, all that.
Six Finger Satellite, Men's Recovery Project.
Totally.
But also like there is a lot of like, I feel like there is an undeniable krautrock element to this as well. Especially on a couple of songs. I hear like the influence of Can or the influence of like Beak or Noi. Stuff like that. And then, I hear like Brainiac, which they were Ohio. They weren't Cleveland, but they were from, where was it? Dayton, Ohio?
Oh, yeah. Wow. That's cool.
Tubeway Army. The OCs. I hear like some of that stuff on here.
Wall of Voodoo was one that came to mind.
Yes. Especially. Time. Yeah. You know what? Yeah. Especially the singer's voice kind of had that sort of, I don't know, like spaghetti Western element at times.
Yeah. Like the vocals on this are a lot like they were on Fashion Pimps. Like somehow it's like snotty and deadpan at the same time. Yeah. Like it's just like this angry boredom almost.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
I think Stan Ridgway from Wall of Voodoo encapsulates that as well. Just kind of like so deadpan. He has a little bit more of a twang to his voice, and I don't know if that's an affect or if, because I don't think he really talks that way, but I don't know. So that's a little different. But yeah, the delivery of the vocals, like I can't really even think of that many other people that sing like that.
No, not at all. It's man. And I loved Fashion Pimps. Like I said, I had to revisit that after listening to this, because this blew my mind. And I mean, honestly, like I may even like this even a little bit more than Fashion Pimps, just because it's so. But I still think the Fashion Pimps are amazing. But I kind of think that they like top themselves with this one, man. Like
and we shouldn't always. I mean, it's not that we want to compare this directly to the Fashion Pimps, because this is obviously a new project, but some of the same people and honestly some of the same sounds. So it's hard not to compare them.
It's hard not to compare. And
but this has its own sound. That's for sure.
No, it totally does. I just think that like they took, I mean, everything that was already amazing about the Fashion Pimps. I don't know, man. Like they added a few things with this project that, in my opinion, just makes it a near perfect album.
Yeah. It's pretty great. 27 minutes long, so that's a good start.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've listened to this thing probably 15 times since you told me about it. Like,
that's awesome.
This is like, it's only January, and this is already a contender for album of the year.
Wow.
For 2025.
Nice.
Like, and I haven't even heard any other albums that have come out in 2025 yet.
Yeah.
This seriously blew my mind.
It's a lot of fun. Of fun listening to it, and I'm actually not sure if I want to mention my favorite part of the album because I want people to experience it themselves. Okay. So I may cut this out, but during the song Glendale Goosebumps, which is my favorite song,
great song,
at the 1 minute 55 marker, a computer voice comes on and says, "Battery low, please charge now."
Oh, yes,
and
yes.
It scared me so bad.
Because you thought that was your phone.
Yeah. And so I looked at my phone and nothing, and I was like, what the? And so I rewound it, and I was like, are you serious? Like, it's almost like they were recording with a phone, and then that happened, and they're like, screw it, leave it in. It's disorienting.
You think it was on purpose, or do you
I don't know.
It just happened?
It seems odd. It seems that if it was planned, they planned it perfectly random.
If you need your psych rock, electronic electro punk fix, man, check this record out.
Or if you just want to have fun, I mean, we're in the doldrums, you know. We're finally getting through January.
Yeah.
And we still have February. Like, you know, you might need something fun to put on.
So, Erik, now I think we should talk about what we've been listening to this week.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I actually discovered, and this is actually kind of directly sort of related to the Peer Pressure Zombies, kind of, because after listening to Peer Pressure Zombies, I kind of let the Spotify radio go, where it was recommending some like other stuff. So there's a few bands that I've been checking out this week. There's this one. Now this one was actually recommended by our good enemy Chuck. Cellborg. So
Cellborg.
Cellborg. CELL/BORG. So it's like two words. And what this stuff reminds me of a lot is sort of like, it's very minimal, like drum machine. Like it's seriously, it's like they're like barely touching like anything other than like the bass drum and snare on the drum machine. And then it's like sort of electronic pop, electro pop, maybe sort of. A lot of it reminds me of like Nodal dance party and stuff like that. But then it's a little bit more ambient than that stuff. There's this band called Gustav that I've been checking out. Kind of like psych punk type stuff. The Kitchen People, they have this record called Trendoid, which is really good. And they're very much kind of similar in the vein of Peer Pressure Zombies.
Nice.
And that was another recommendation from Enemy Chuck. Lungfish. I've been listening to a lot of Lungfish this week for some reason. This band that kind of I forgot about that was getting some hype a while back called The Pains of Being Pure at Heart. Been listening to them a lot. I've been listening to the Screamers this week.
Okay, yeah, cool.
That Snooper record that we reviewed a while back.
Good stuff.
Suicide, because the Peer Pressure Zombies kind of put me in mind of that. I mentioned earlier the. And yeah, that's really about it.
Cool. I've I listened to this compilation from 1992, which is kind of mind-blowing to me that I've never heard it till now, 100 years later. It's called Masters of Misery, and it's people covering Black Sabbath songs. But it's like Cathedral and Godflesh and Sleep and Scorn and just like really heavy stuff. Old. Actually, I found it because I was looking into Old, who the singer from Kanye is in, right?
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's Masters of Misery. Really cool tribute comp, which is very 90s to even just say out loud. Anyway, let's see what else. I listened to a record called Attempted Martyr by a group called Prostitute. I don't know if I've mentioned that before. It's really, really interesting. I've still been listening to the record Maggot Mass by Pharmacon, which I think is just going to have to be one of my picks at some point. Mark and the Mambas, which is the singer from Soft Cell's solo stuff.
Soft Cell.
Yeah, he is a really cool singer, and it's really theatrical stuff. I don't know. Other than that, honestly, it's just a lot more of the slow stuff. Slow, heavy stuff. My favorite one right now is called Prism, Prism. I mean, I'm not just spelling Prism. It's like the letters. And that's made by Sutek Hexen and Funerary Call. It's like a collabo, sort of. Yeah. So anyway. Oh, and also Imperial Triumphant. They're pretty cool. It's like, I guess maybe like black metal-ish. Unfortunately, they wear costumes, so it's automatically like not as cool as it could be. But anyway, they're kind of like an actually heavy, or maybe a more heavy Ghost. I don't know.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Anyway, that's about it, really. Have we taken up enough of our listeners' time at this point?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, all the talk about Billy, the two Bills.
Bill and Billy.
Yeah, Bill and Billy. Bill and Bill's Excellent Adventure.
Oh God, I don't even know. Listen to the Peer Pressure Zombies.
Definitely.
That's it. Everything else, forget about it. We gotta go.
We do gotta go. So yeah, if you want to get a hold of us and you want us to review your record or somebody else's record or talk about a band, let us know, man. Accelerativ without the E _thrust @gmail.com or message us on Instagram, the Insta IG. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
And everyone else.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
I could be kind of getting some of the facts wrong here, but